At 82, I've learned many lessons, but one decision I deeply regret is moving into a nursing home. What seemed like the best choice at the time ended up taking away my independence, privacy, and purpose, leaving me with valuable lessons I wish I had known before making that move. At Elder Stories, we hope this story can help others make more informed decisions for themselves or their loved ones. Regret 1: losing my independence. At 82, I've witnessed and experienced much in life, but the decision that weighs most heavily on me is choosing to move into a nursing home. When I made the decision, I was led to believe it was the best course of action. My family promised that I'd receive the care and comfort I needed, which at the time seemed reassuring. But once I settled in, I quickly realized that the life I had envisioned was far from the reality that awaited me. Living independently is a luxury we often take for granted. You have the freedom to wake up when you choose, to decide what you want to eat, and to structure your day as you see fit. These seemingly small acts of choice are a foundation for feeling alive and in control. However, once I entered the nursing home, I quickly discovered how drastically these freedoms could be taken away. The timing of my meals, the type of food, the daily schedule, everything was determined by others. It felt as though I had lost control over even the most basic aspects of my life. This loss of independence is not just a minor inconvenience. It's a major blow to one's sense of self. For many older adults, especially those who have lived independently for most of their lives, losing control can take a significant toll on their mental and emotional well-being. Research consistently shows that such a loss can lead to feelings of helplessness and can even contribute to depression. I began to notice that while I once had control over my environment, I now felt as though I was simply existing, not living. Even more profoundly, this loss of autonomy strips away the sense of dignity that comes from making your own choices. It's not just the act of being told when to sleep, when to eat, or when to engage in social activities that is difficult. It's the gradual erosion of one's identity. As days passed, I started to feel as though I was no longer the person I once was. I had no say in my own routine, and I became a passive observer in my own life. Regret 2: feeling forgotten. One of the most difficult realities I've had to face since moving into the nursing home is the overwhelming sense of being forgotten. When I first arrived, my family assured me they would visit regularly, and for a while, they kept their word. My daughter visited every week, my grandchildren came on weekends, and for those brief moments, I felt connected to the outside world. But as time passed, those visits became fewer and fewer. The phone calls replaced in-person visits, and soon, even the calls stopped coming as often. The holidays, once filled with family gatherings, became empty. I began to feel like I was being left behind. This is a truth that many people in nursing homes face. The world outside continues to move on without them. Life doesn't pause because someone enters a care facility, and eventually, it becomes apparent that the world you knew has carried on. At first, I thought this feeling of being forgotten was temporary, but as the months wore on, it became clearer that I was not just physically separated from my family, but emotionally distant as well. The emotional pain of abandonment is real, and it's something that can be difficult to express. It's not that my family doesn't care about me. They do. But as their lives became more filled with work, school, and other responsibilities, visits became infrequent. What was once a priority seemed to fade into the background, leaving me feeling isolated. This is a painful reality many seniors face. When the visits, calls, and shared moments stop, they start to feel like relics of a past life. As human beings, we crave connection. Social engagement is essential to our emotional and physical well-being, particularly as we age. Studies have shown that seniors who are isolated are at a higher risk of developing serious health conditions, both mentally and physically. The stress of loneliness can cause a surge in cortisol levels, which weakens the immune system and increases the risk of chronic conditions. When I found myself alone in a common room, watching others silently hope for a visit, it became clear that the absence of meaningful connections can have dire consequences. The visits from family, though brief, were an emotional lifeline, reminding me that I was still valued. But as these moments became fewer and farther between, I began to feel more invisible. It's not just the physical absence of loved ones, it's the emotional absence that cuts the deepest. Over time, I realized how important those interactions were, not just for filling the time, but for maintaining a sense of purpose and belonging. The longer I went without them, the more I felt like a forgotten shadow of my former self. This emotional loneliness is something that many people in nursing homes experience, and it has profound effects on mental health. It's not just about being physically alone. It's about feeling disconnected from the world around you, as if your existence no longer matters to anyone. Regret 3: losing my sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing where I lived. I didn't realize I was also changing why I lived. At home, I had responsibilities, routines, hobbies, and a reason to get up in the morning. Even the small things, watering the plants, making my own coffee, tidying up my space, gave me a sense of purpose. But in the nursing home, those daily rituals disappeared. Meals were made for me. Cleaning was done by someone else. And the plants? Well, they weren't mine to take care of anymore. At first, I told myself it would be nice to finally relax. No more chores, no more responsibilities, just rest. But after a few weeks, I realized something was missing. The days felt long, stretched out with nothing to do but wait. Having a sense of purpose in life is essential to maintaining mental and emotional health. Studies have shown that people who have meaningful activities or reasons to get out of bed each day are less likely to experience depression and have better cognitive function. Without my former responsibilities, I felt adrift, lacking the motivation to engage with life. Over time, I started to miss the structure and small joys that came with being in control of my own life. Even the smallest tasks, like making a cup of tea, felt like they provided more meaning than I had realized at the time. In fact, the loss of purpose is one of the most significant challenges for seniors living in nursing homes. The absence of personal goals, whether large or small, can lead to feelings of helplessness and diminished self-worth. Without those daily tasks that once grounded me, the sense of time became distorted. Days began to blur into one another, and I found myself questioning the point of getting up in the morning. Research highlights that a lack of purpose is linked to poorer health outcomes, including a weakened immune system and increased mortality. It's clear that having a reason to get up every day, even if it's as simple as tending to a plant or calling a friend, plays a crucial role in maintaining overall well-being. When I was independent, I was in charge of my routines, and even mundane tasks gave me a sense of accomplishment. In the nursing home, that was taken from me, and it left me with an emptiness I hadn't anticipated. While the staff provided care, it wasn't the same as the personal satisfaction of knowing I was capable of handling things on my own. I longed for the simplicity of making my own choices, no matter how small. Regret 4. Declining health faster than expected. Before I moved into a nursing home, I was doing well for my age. I wasn't running marathons, but I could still take care of myself, go for walks, and cook my own meals. I had my little routines that kept me moving: grocery shopping, stretching in the mornings, even just walking around the house to keep my legs strong. But once I moved in, everything changed. At first, it seemed like I was just taking it easy. Meals were brought to me, and I no longer had to stand in the kitchen to cook. But what I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving as much, and soon my legs felt stiffer. I sat more than I used to, and before I knew it, getting up from a chair started feeling like a chore. Physical activity, even in small amounts, plays a crucial role in maintaining mobility and strength, especially as we age. When we stop being active, the body begins to deteriorate more quickly than we realize. Studies have shown that prolonged inactivity can lead to muscle atrophy, loss of balance, and reduced bone density, all of which can increase the risk of falls and fractures. Being in a nursing home, where physical activity is often limited to scheduled exercises or therapy sessions, can contribute to this decline. Once I lost my daily movements, I found it much harder to regain my strength and independence. Staying active, even with simple exercises, is essential to maintaining health as we age. I never expected how quickly my body would lose its strength once I stopped moving regularly. The routine I had maintained at home, walking, cooking, doing housework, kept me in a relatively good physical condition. Once I entered the nursing home, those daily movements were replaced by a sedentary routine. I found myself spending hours sitting in a chair with little reason to get up, and I began to feel more sluggish and disconnected from my body. Another aspect I didn't consider was the mental toll of reduced physical activity. Not only was my body weakening, but my mind felt less sharp as well. The brain, like the body, thrives on activity. When we stop moving, we also stop stimulating our minds. Cognitive decline can be exacerbated by inactivity, and I noticed this happening to me more and more. I became more forgetful, less engaged in conversations, and more disconnected from the world around me. This cognitive decline is a major issue for older adults, and it can lead to depression or feelings of despair. Physical movement supports not only physical health, but also mental health, promoting a sharper mind and a more positive outlook. I came to realize how interconnected the body and mind are. When one starts to weaken, the other follows suit. Regret 5. The loss of privacy and dignity. One of the things I didn't fully consider before moving into a nursing home was just how much privacy I would lose. At home, I had my own space. I could close my bedroom door, sit in silence if I wanted, and do things on my own terms. But in a nursing home, privacy is a luxury you don't always get to keep. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff coming in and out, scheduled room checks, and shared spaces where you're rarely alone. Even simple things like getting dressed or using the bathroom often required someone's assistance. This constant loss of personal space and dignity can have a profound impact on one's mental health. When you lose the ability to do things privately or on your own terms, it can erode your sense of self-worth and autonomy. Research shows that maintaining privacy is crucial for mental well-being. The absence of privacy can lead to feelings of embarrassment, frustration, and even depression. Being dependent on others for such personal tasks can also make you feel like you're losing control over your life. This is why it's so important for nursing homes to prioritize creating environments where residents can feel respected and retain a degree of autonomy, even in challenging circumstances. Even something as personal as choosing when and how to rest or enjoy quiet time becomes difficult in a communal environment. The intrusion of staff for room checks, medical procedures, or other necessary duties can create an atmosphere where privacy is no longer valued. This lack of privacy, along with the frequent need for assistance with basic tasks, can erode your sense of self-respect and make you feel less like a person with agency and more like a patient being managed. The emotional and psychological impact of losing privacy cannot be overstated. It can feel humiliating to have others involved in such personal aspects of your daily life, and this loss of control can deeply affect your sense of dignity. Feeling like you're no longer in charge of the most basic choices regarding your body and personal space can leave you feeling stripped of your identity. Regret 6. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it was temporary. I thought I'd give it a try, see how things went, and if I didn't like it, I could always leave. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. At first, it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd just go back home. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty, and maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting out the place. When I brought up the idea of returning, they hesitated. Once you're in a nursing home, the process of returning to your previous lifestyle becomes much more complicated. There are often legal and logistical hurdles, such as the need for home modifications, caregiving support, or financial adjustments that make leaving a daunting prospect. Additionally, many people develop a psychological attachment to the nursing home, even if it's not ideal. Over time, the familiarity of the routine and the constant presence of staff and residents can create a sense of comfort, even if it's not the same as living independently. Leaving may feel like an overwhelming task because of the emotional and physical adjustments required. Moreover, once your family becomes involved in decisions about your care, they may begin to make choices that reflect their views of what's best for you, and this can lead to resistance when you express a desire to leave. The psychological and emotional dynamics between you, your family, and the facility can make leaving much more challenging than anticipated. It's a stark reminder that once you enter a nursing home, the sense of freedom and control you once had becomes more difficult to regain. The emotional strain of trying to leave becomes compounded by the physical and mental changes that take place over time. As the months pass, it can feel like you're being slowly absorbed into the nursing home's culture. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to reassert your independence. Leaving is no longer just about going home. It's about facing the fear of starting over and the reality that the home you once had is no longer the same. Reflecting on my experience, I don't regret aging, but I do regret thinking a nursing home was my only option. It took away my independence and privacy, and I wish I had fought harder to stay at home and explored other ways to get help. If you're considering this decision, think carefully about what you're giving up, as life will change once you move in. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you faced a similar decision or learned something valuable today? Share your experience or insights in the comments below.